I'm not gonna actually get to the 10 books that I rolled for. It has not been the month that I wanted it to be. It's YA, I don't really want to read YA fantasy. Hello, I'm Beth Joey and welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you're new here, welcome. This is the channel where I paint my face, turn my camera on and talk about some books. It is the end of week 3 of Becca's Bookoplathon, which if you aren't already aware is a Bookoplathon hosted by Becca over at Becca and the Books. I'll link the announcement video down below. It's based on Becca's own TBR game, Bookopoly, which of course is based on Monopoly, and it's a month-long readathon for the month of September, and we are almost at the finish line, and it's really sad because I haven't done nearly as much reading as I wanted to, and I'm really beginning to think that I'm not gonna actually get to the 10 books that I rolled for. It has not been the month that I wanted it to be. But enough complaining, I'm going to give you a brief update of what I read in the 3rd week of Becca's Bookoplathon, starting with My Killer Vacation by Tessa Bailey. This is a recent release by Tessa Bailey. It's a sort of murder mystery romance, which in my mind I thought was perfect because I love murder mystery, I love romance. Meshing those two together seemed like the perfect recipe. But unfortunately, I'm beginning to think Tessa Bailey just is not for me. I gave this book 3 stars and I haven't loved a lot of Tessa Bailey's books lately. So My Killer Vacation is a dual POV murder mystery romance. It focuses around Taylor, who is a 2nd grade teacher and an amateur crime sleuth who is just about to go on a week-long holiday with her brother that they both very much deserve until she finds 2 peepholes and a dead body in the house that she is staying in. She then meets Miles, who is a bounty hunter assigned to find out what happened in this case because the cops really don't seem to care. And of course, it's a classic grumpy sunshine, as Tessa Bailey is known for doing, and it follows these two as they solve the case and fall in love. Sounds like a super fun story, but for me, my first impressions of it, like after reading the first couple of chapters, was wow, this is a lot. I really kind of liked Taylor. I thought she was a fun mix of sassy and cute with this intense family streak and an interesting kink, but man, Miles was incredibly problematic. Don't get me wrong, I had no problem with his profession, his bounty hunting profession, but the resulting overprotectiveness, borderline stalker vibes that he had with Taylor were just really uncomfortable, and the way he used to talk to her and treat her and like flip the switch on and off with her was just really frustrating. And unfortunately, it really made me think that I don't get along with Tessa Bailey's love interests. Every single one that I've read in her books I've found really problematic and really toxic. I will admit to being hooked into the world in this read. I could really picture that beach setting because I'd just recently been to Australia myself and stayed in a house on the beach, and I really could visualize everything, but it was constantly ruined by this weird toxic relationship between the characters, and unfortunately, I hate to say it, kind of poor editing. And I'm not saying that the composure of the book or anything like that side of the editing was bad. I mean the real like nitty-gritty things like sentence structure and spell checking. There is nothing that takes me out of book more than when I'm feeling like I'm rewriting it as I'm reading it. I also thought that in terms of the writing, there was a lot of internal monologuing on Miles's side in particular, and I was also not unaware of the fact that every single sex scene was written from Miles's perspective, despite this female main character supposed to be very, you know, sex positive. The last thing that I want to say is that I wish this book gave us a bit of time to enjoy the bliss of the relationship before the 3rd act conflict and the sort of wrapping up of the crime. There was so much back and forth between these two characters that you never just got to enjoy watching them settle into a relationship and enjoy each other's company. Anyway, I don't want to rant too much. I gave this book 3 stars. I enjoyed the sort of fun, can't take this too seriously nature of it, but I just really didn't like the characters or the writing. The second book that I read in week 3 of Becca's Bookoplathon was Legendborn by Tracy Deonn. This is a TBR vet. This has been on my TBR for what feels like forever, and I've never gotten around to reading it because I'm always like, oh, it's YA, I don't really want to read YA fantasy. I should not have held off on this because I loved it so much I gave it 5 stars. Legendborn is sort of an Arthurian retelling of the legend of Arthur in a modern setting with the sort of historic trauma of racism and generational trauma of racism tied in as well in this beautifully composed, really amazingly executed story. It follows Bree, whose mother dies in a car accident, and after this, Bree decides to join the university as a sort of early education program where you can join a university 2 years before you graduate from high school. She begins to see a number of things that just don't make sense, and she soon becomes part of a secret organization. There's a group of teenagers named the Legendborn who are the descendants of King Arthur, and that organization unlocks Bree's own magic, sets her on this path where she's determined to do anything, including becoming one of the Legendborn in order to find out the truth, and it is fascinating. I love Bree so much in this story. I think she is so strong and so vulnerable, and whilst it was the plot that kept reeling me back in, I think the character development in this story was what made me fall in love. Through Bree's perspective, you get to witness every heartache, every trauma, every prejudice against her, and then the generational trauma that she experiences by contacting her ancestors and experiencing what they went through. One thing I did not like about the characters was that there were just so many of them, so I found myself getting really confused towards the end, and I really struggled remembering who everybody was. But there was also a love interest that was dribbled in towards the end of this book, and I cannot wait for the angst that's going to come along with that. The writing in this story just felt effortless and incredibly readable, and I was listening to the audiobook at the same time as reading it, which made me, I think, experience the writing in a completely different way, because the person narrating the audiobook had that deep southern accent that was just, it really thrust you into the world and thrust you into the people that were there and the prejudice that was there and the really complicated history and relationships between all these different characters who've been raised in such a different way to Bree. And as I said before, in the plot, it tied in both the history, the Welsh sort of history of the Arthurian legend, with the American history of slavery and racism, and the way it tied those two seamlessly together and made them both so relatable in such a really fascinating way. I have to give so much credit to Tracy Deonn for being able to write that. It was just incredible. I cannot wait for the sequel to come out in November. I literally went to the bookstore hoping I could pick it up immediately, and they were like, oh yeah, the release date isn't till November. I was like, damn it, I want to read this. Anyway, very long-winded way of saying I gave this book 5 stars. I really loved every minute that I read it, and I cannot wait to pick up the sequel soon. So as we are heading into the final week of Becca's Bookoplathon, I have picked up The Last Girl by Goldie Moldovsky. I'm about a third of the way into the book, maybe just over that, and I am enjoying it at the moment. It is a little bit hard to get used to because it's just complete different style of writing to both Legendborn and My Killer Vacation. That is my week 3 Bookoplathon update. Come and chat to me in the comments down below. Let me know if you are participating in Becca's Bookoplathon, what you read in week 3, how this readathon is going for you at the moment. You finding lots of books that you love? Are you struggling a little bit kind of like me? Or are you finding a complete mixture? Because like I've had some 5 stars, but I've also had some 1 stars, and I have no idea what my average rating for this month is going to be. Maybe I'll bring that up in my week 4 update. Who knows? But yeah, come and chat to me in the comments down below. I love talking to you guys, and I do my best to reply to every single comment. I really hope that you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please do come and let me know by liking, subscribing, and hitting that notification bell all down below. It's a super easy way to help my channel grow, and I will see you lovely people in my next video. Bye!